This Knicks prospect that you have not remembered is balling out, and also we have an injury update on Jericho Sims, and we have to talk about it. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. My name is Chris, and we're gonna jump right into things as we always do. First things first, there is a Knicks prospect who is balling out. Prospect might not be the correct word because it's not like he's that young, but he's in the G League and he's playing remarkably well in the G League Showcase Cup, and that is Brandon Goodwin. Last game, he had 33 points, went 5 for 10 from 3 with 9 assists and 2 blocks. He is the Knicks starting point, or the Westchester Knicks starting point guard. And as New York basketball said, Suburban Knicks to the semis. Obviously, that is the Westchester Knicks. For those maybe not from New York, not familiar with Westchester, Westchester is right north of New York, and it is the nearest suburb directly outside. That's also in New York, not counting some parts in New Jersey and stuff. It's pretty awesome to see that, a G League player is balling out. I think it would be a lot more exciting if it was a big man, considering the multiple injuries to multiple centers, which is something that we're about to get into. But it is nice just to see that the Knicks have another guard balling out, which is good because you never know what could happen with Emmanuel quickly. Considering he didn't sign that extension, the Knicks may trade him at the deadline. It's certainly like stranger things have happened. And just in case, say, Brunson were to go down with an injury and they wanted to add another guard to the lineup, or not to the lineup, but to the team, they could call Goodwin up. And again, it's just, hey, if the Westchester Knicks are succeeding, it means the front office is doing something right. Really positive note just to start things out on. And if you look at the team stats, obviously Daquan Jeffries is the best player. However, he spends most of his time with the Knicks, along with Dwayne Washington Jr. and Deuce McBride. So out of guys who consistently play on the team, Brandon Goodwin is the team's leading scorer. He also leads them in assists at 8.4, scoring 17 points per game, also getting a steal and a half per game. He's playing good basketball. 4 rebounds also is nothing to sneeze at. He could do better in the percentage field, though. And it's just, it's one of those things where I don't think any of us are really watching the Westchester Knicks, but we'd rather them do well than them be bad. And right now they're 11-4 on their season, which is very exciting, and they're doing well in the Showcase Cup, which is just the G League version of the in-season tournament. So all good stuff right there. Very exciting. The problem is that Goodwin has never really been able to figure it out on the NBA level. In 133 NBA games, he's averaging a little under 5 points per game, along with 1.5 rebounds and 2 assists, shooting under 40% from the field and only 31.5% from deep, with a PER of 10.6. So no, not the best numbers for Brandon Goodwin when he comes up, but maybe things are turning a corner. Hopefully they are. However, really, there's only so much you can talk about with the G League because there's only so much we care, if we're being honest. So we move on, and the next thing you guys have probably heard about is, as Woj reported, Knicks center Jericho Sims has a right ankle sprain and is expected to miss 1 to 2 weeks, sources tell ESPN. Sims got hurt against the Lakers on Monday. The Knicks were already down starting center in Mitchell Robinson with an injury. That means now the 2 centers on the Knicks lineup are Isaiah Hartenstein and Taj Gibson, and the 1 power forward is Julius Randle. This is the problem with what the Knicks have. As good as the roster is, and as much as I don't mind replacing Obi with DiVincenzo because DiVincenzo is the better player, now the Knicks are in a situation where they go 3 deep, big man wise, and Julius is not a center. He is a pure power forward. He is not a center. Taj Gibson is hardly a center, and he really shouldn't be getting a ton of minutes because he's 38 years old and essentially the Knicks version of Udonis Haslem at this point. But now he's going to play real minutes unless the Knicks want to add a different center in free agency or trade for someone. And sure, Jericho Sims is out 2 weeks. Big deal. But it's not like he's been great this season, guys. Like, it's kind of one of the reasons why we're bringing Jericho Sims up is not really just like, oh, the Knicks are in trouble because Sims is out 1 to 2 weeks. It's that Jericho has really not looked amazing. He's certainly not good enough to be an NBA starter. And as a backup center, I mean, he's not awful, but it's just one of those things where if you're 6'9", it's going to be hard to begin with. And Hartenstein is going to have to play a lot of minutes because Sims has foul issues. And now he's hurt. Now he's dealing with an ankle thing. That's going to hinder him for 2 weeks if he even comes back. And then when he comes back, he's going to be a little rusty. And he's not gotten consistent minutes all season, which is certainly not going to help him play well when he does play on the Knicks. And Mitch is still out, like, nearly 3 months. So I think it's going to be one of these moments where the Knicks should probably sign a different center in free agency or go out and make some sort of trade for some sort of backup big for cheap, the Knicks are in a position where they're going to need more big man help or even go for some sort of power forward. I mean, you got guys out there like a Michael Green or maybe Jeremiah Robinson Earl comes to mind for power forwards who are free agents at the moment. And then outside of them, and you could make trades for someone who could be a backup power forward, but you'd probably have to change up the Knicks rotation since they like their 9-man rotation. And as good as Josh Hart is, there are going to be games where he can be the backup power forward. For the most part, he can, though. Most backup power forwards are not like 6'9", 6'10" inside scorers. They're mainly just guys who are spot-up shooters at this point. So it's not like Hart cannot cover them, but it is one of these moments where with the Knicks roster, there's injuries, and they could just use another big body to put out there and actually be able to play NBA minutes. I took a list of some centers off of Sport Track. It is not including either Derek Favors or Nerlens Noel, both of whom are also free agents and could be considered, especially because Nerlens Noel has played for Tom Thibodeau before and was the Knicks starting center in the playoffs against the Hawks when Mitchell Robinson was injured. And here is that list right here. You got guys like Blake Griffin who can play the power forward or the center spot. Frank Kaminsky, which you could do the same because he could shoot. Then you have Willie Hernan-Gomez, who started his career with the Knicks and was picked in the second round by Phil Jackson in the same year that the Knicks selected Porzingis. Spent the year overseas, then came in the next year, and Knicks fans loved him when he played in New York. People hyped him up. They thought he was going to be really good. He didn't really fully develop a lot, but Knicks fans did love him when he was here. I would be interested in bringing him back. Marko Simonovic, who's hardly ever really played in the NBA. You got a guy like Vernon Carey Jr., who came in as a very highly touted prospect. However, it did not work out. Gorgui Zhang, who the Knicks showed interest in, I wouldn't be surprised if they were to sign a center if he'd be the one. Dwayne Dedmon, which was another option that I'm fairly interested in just because, like, he's a big body. He could play NBA minutes. It's not a bad option. He was on the Miami Heat last season, and he did pretty well there. Then you got Myers Leonard and Willie Cauley-Stein. Cauley-Stein was never able to figure it out after being picked 6th overall, I believe. I believe he was picked 6th overall in the 2015 NBA draft. And then you got Myers Leonard. And one of the reasons why Myers Leonard is a free agent is because of the whole situation when he was on a live stream, said a slur, and did not, or claimed to not know what it means. Whether he knew what it means or he didn't, he knows that he was wrong. He has felt the outcome of that situation. He's hardly ever played in the NBA after that because of the fact he was on the Bucks for a bit, but he didn't play great because he was basically just removed from basketball for a while because he said something horrible and very hateful. And I think there's going to be conflicting opinions on whether that was right for him to sort of get blackballed, but it's also not like he was some star player. Like, for instance, there's a lot of good, like, very good NBA players who live stream. If you remember from back in the day, that young Lakers team of Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Kyle Kuzma, they would all jump on, like, live streams on Twitch and play Call of Duty together. And that's exactly what Myers Leonard was doing. He had a side hustle, and he did something that he liked. He was just playing video games, but something must have happened in the game. As you guys know, video games can get upsetting, and Myers Leonard got upset and basically said something he didn't mean or did not know what it was, essentially, as far as I've seen, and he's paid for it. But he's also an option that really could help the Knicks because not only is he an NBA-level center, he can shoot the three ball, which is just always helpful for centers, and gives sort of a similar look to Isaiah Hartenstein, who's not exactly a stretch big, but who plays at that high post. However, I like the idea of Dwayne Dedmon. I think he would be very interesting. Here's just another quick look at the list, just because partially I want to see it too. I like the idea of Dwayne Dedmon out of every guy here. He's probably the most similar to Mitchell Robinson, or you could go for Nerlens Noel, who is also fairly similar to a worse version of Mitch. So Tom Thibodeau can start a center similar to Mitch, which is what he wants to do, and have Hartenstein off the bench, playing the majority of the center minutes while Mitch is not here. So I'd say go for Noel or Dedmon, and if you can't get him, you could take a chance on maybe Willie Hernan-Gomez. I just think that'd be fun to see him back in a Knicks jersey and just to show more time. Or you could go for, I don't know. That's really all I'm interested on that list. Maybe Frank Kaminsky because he could shoot. But that's really all that we have time for today. I can't believe that we just talked about that stuff for 10 minutes, but we did. Have a great day, guys. This is being filmed right before the Knicks and the Nets tip off. So congratulations on the Knicks for beating the Nets once again. and I'll see you tomorrow in my time. Good morning to you guys. Go Knicks.